Houston Station, Jack's on 2-4, cargo, step 115.
Jack, Houston is with you on step 115. What you got for cargo?
I'm on sub-step 4. The 2.0 CTB, serial number 4080, is not in Node 1, Deck 1. I checked in Node 1 overhead as well, and then I did a quick check of the 2.0s that are in the airlock and didn't see it there either. Thinking or hoping you guys might have a suggestion of where it might be.
Copy that, Jack. We will have a look and see if we can find the thing for you.
Thank you, sir.
No trouble. See if we can find the thing for you.
Thank you, sir.
No trouble. Jack, Houston on Space to Ground 2 for that missing CTB 4080 that was supposed to be at Node 1, Deck 1.
Sir.
Hey, Jack, we think we would like to have you try Node 2 forward end cone for that missing 2.0 CTB there in step 115.04.
Yeah, I'll have a look. Thanks.
Roger, let us know if you find it.
Nick from Sophie on 2 for step and decimal 4. Nick from Sophie on 2 for step and decimal 4.
And Sophie, Munich back with you on 2. Yeah, we had a short KU LOS. So, yep, definitely go 10.4. And we can move to space to ground 3 again.
Station Houston, space to ground 2 for Chris, and upcoming PWD outage. To send some commands to take it down. Just want to make sure you guys are stocked up if need be. Let us know when you're ready.
Absolutely, we'd sure be in a pickle if we didn't have any water up here. But let us go and check and see what we can find out.
Nice.
Gunny, while we have you, I'm going to give you a stowage question. I am in step 113 well, all of 113 really, because the step references everything that's in there.
Copy, Jessica, with you in step 113.
Basically, those items will definitely not fit in. So basically, those items will definitely not fit in this 8.0 the way they're currently packed and the way that the constraint image recommends. I can kind of walk you through it and see what you think is best. I'm looking at the constraint image, and it shows where the various ORUs should go, but it's certainly not to scale. The fluids ISIS drawer is almost the width of that 8.0, so there's no way. Well, first of all, it won't fit below the panel because the spaceport computer, like we talked about earlier, I packed it with the gray foam instead of bubble wrap, so it's probably a couple inches wider or taller in this case than expected, so I would have to take off the foam. If I took off the foam from the sides of that, I think I could maybe squeeze in the ISIS drawer on top of it, per the way the diagram shows. And I would think that it would be okay without padding on the sides because it has, of course, the bubble wrap from the ISIS drawer above it. I would think that it would be okay without padding on the sides because it has, of course, the bubble wrap from the ISIS drawer above it. But the pump separator will definitely not fit next to the ISIS drawer because the ISIS drawer is too wide. The pump separator, however, could fit where the mod temp CCS supply is. I'm not sure why that item looks like it's occupying so much space. All it is a very small hose, TCS hose. So that's like a really small item. I'm a little bit confused as to why it was referenced that way in the diagram. So the pump separator could go there, but I think it might be protruding beyond the proximity of where the lid should end. It might be too fat, like in that case. But looking for your guidance there, it's definitely not going to fit as is.
Checking.
I'm happy to let you guys think about that for a while, and I can return to this later on this evening because I'm going to be getting prepped for this PAO event coming up. I was kind of getting ahead with this cargo anyway. So I have all the items temp stowed down there, but yeah, either we need to really take off foam and or reposition items, and the pump separator is kind of questionable in the new location.
Copy that, Jessica. We'll work on a story, and we'll seek to catch you on the other side of the PAO. Thanks for the data. We appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.
Houston, Station 2, we are good on water. Thank you.
Roger that. Let us move on.
I absolutely relish your jokes.
We appreciate it. Cheers. Jack Houston, you are go to power off, OCT.
Power off, OCT. Houston Station, Jackson 2 for WHC Stono.
Jack, we're pulling the Stono. What you got?
In lines 4 through 10, I was unable to find a 1.0 CTB 5333 in node 3 overhead 2. I found 2 other 1.0 CTBs that were labeled urine receptacle insert filter. One was serial number 1032 and the other was 502. Urine receptacle insert filter. One was serial number 1032 and the other was 5029. But neither of them have these flex hoses that are listed as the item names inside of them. Looking for some guides.
Roger, we'll look for those and let you know if we can find those flex hoses.
We'll find the CTB. Thanks. Houston Station, Jackson 2. We actually found the CTB behind the standoff. Thanks.
Roger that. And a quick question, are you guys all good for the PWD?
Yes, we are go to be down for PWD.
Roger, Chris might have told us that, but I think I personally missed it. Whoops. Moving on.
His communications can get lost in his puns. It's very understandable.
Totally understand.
Houston station on 2 for water transfer.
Hey, Andre, Houston's with you on 2. Go ahead.
So I'm ready for water transfer, and I have a getaway number 1551. And this is empty.
Okay, copy that, Andre. That's a good serial number. In step 3.2, we're showing the offload time as 30 minutes, and you are go in step 3.3.
All right, thanks. Copy all.
Thank you. Спасибо. Thank you. Спасибо.
Sensation on 2 for PAO event.
Hey, Jessica, Houston's with you on 2 for the PAO event.
All right, you ready for scene and voice?
Copy, Jessica. We're getting you routed now. Stand by. Jessica, Houston, space to ground. Jessica, Houston, back with you on 2. Good scene and voice. Thank you. Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready for the event.
Houston ACR, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Houston ACR. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
Station, this is Houston ACR. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
I have you loud and clear. Please stand by for opening remarks.
I have you loud and clear. Please stand by for opening remarks.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Here at the Cradle of Aviation Museum here on Long Island is thrilled to be part of this morning's downlink. I'm Andy Parton, president of the Cradle, and we've got a theater full of exciting kids busting at the seams. As you may know, Long Island's legacy in space started with the Apollo program. In fact, every lunar module that took us to the moon was built just 15 miles from where I'm standing. So today is another exciting moment for Long Island to be speaking with you today. Now, here's our first question.
Hi, my name is Rowan, and my question is, astronauts talk about something called the overview effect when they see Earth from space. Did that happen to you, and do you think it will affect the way you live your life on Earth?
Yes, the overview effect is certainly something real, and I know that it affects most astronauts, sometimes in pretty similar ways. I think the first thing that astronauts really appreciate is how incredibly gorgeous and special our planet is, but also how fragile it is. You look back at the Earth, and there's this tiny little thin band of the atmosphere, and as you probably know, it's that atmosphere that's the only thing that supports all life on Earth. So it makes us realize when we have that privilege to look down and see the Earth from above, how special our planet is and how we really all must do our part to try and protect it. It also shows us how insignificant it is in the grand scheme of the universe, just this one small pale blue dot in the blackness of space. And I think that gives us some good perspective about how we approach all different things in life.
Hi, my name's Amelia.
Well, something that I miss very, very much is my daughter. I have a 3-year-old daughter at home, and just like if you were in space, I'm sure you would miss your parents and they would miss you. I miss her very, very much. Something I love about space is just being in microgravity all the time, when I can just do this with absolutely no effort, spin around in a somersault. I can shoot off down the module. Being in weightlessness is so much fun, and the views are absolutely incredible.
Hi, my name is Kendra, and my question is, can you see the whole Earth?
Unfortunately, we cannot actually see the entire Earth from our vantage point here on the space station, and that's because we are only 250 miles above the Earth, so we can only see a small portion of it. Our friends on the Artemis mission, who recently went all the way to the moon and went around the moon, they were far enough away from the Earth that they could look back and see the entire planet. But for us on the space station, we only see just a small part of it.
Hi, my name is Valentina, and my question is, how do you feel before leaving Earth?
Sorry, can you repeat that one, please?
The question was, how do you feel before leaving Earth?
How do I feel before leaving Earth? That is a very complicated process, I think, for all of us, because everybody feels different levels of excitement and anticipation. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was even younger than you guys. I was 5 years old when I started saying I wanted to be an astronaut, and I said it my entire life. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was even younger than you guys. I was 5 years old when I started saying I wanted to be an astronaut, and I said it my entire life. So I was so excited that my dream was coming coming true. You've worked so hard your entire life, and you've prepared and done all of this training. So you also have this little bit of nervousness trying to make sure that you do everything right, that you know everything, you learned everything you needed to. But for me, I think mostly it was just this absolute excitement that my dream was coming true. And sometimes it was actually quite difficult to believe. Even when I was on the rocket, I had been in simulators so many times before that it just seemed like the same as the simulator. And then I would hear the rocket groan or move a little bit, and I realized that this time I was going to end up in space. So it was incredibly exciting.
Hi, my name is Eliza, and my question is, what are some challenges you faced when becoming an astronaut?
What does it take to become an astronaut, I think was the question. It's a little bit distorted our comm right now, so sorry, I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing. I'll try to adjust the volume a little bit. But for us to become astronauts, one of the things that we all have in common is that we have a STEM degree: science, technology, engineering, and math. So if you like any of those subjects, you would be very well suited to come work with us at NASA, whether it's up here as an astronaut or it's down on the ground as a flight controller or an engineer or a scientist building things or testing things. We need all kinds of people at NASA. We also need people that are lawyers. We need people that are administrators. We need all types of different people. So even if you don't have a STEM degree and you're interested in NASA, there could be a spot there for you as well.
Hi, my name is Annabelle, and Ibrahim's question is, what kind of noises do you hear on the space station, and how do you get used to them?
The question was, what kind of noises do you hear on the space station, and how do you get used to them?
What kind of noises do we hear on the space station? Well, the space station is an incredibly noisy place. All around me right now in this module, maybe that's why I'm having such a difficulty hearing you, because I have so much background noises. There's background noise coming from different fans, from different pieces of hardware all around me, from all the different systems of the International Space Station. There's lots of different machines running. If you think about when you're at home in the kitchen, sometimes you can hear your refrigerator running or different appliances as they're operating, so it's really, really noisy up here. Yesterday, we heard something pretty interesting because our Russian cosmonaut colleagues were doing a spacewalk outside. So when we floated down to their module, we could actually hear them because they were very close to the outside of where we were, and they were, we could hear some banging and clanging around, and that's pretty unusual to hear something from the outside like that.
Hi, my name is Frankie, and my question is, what is your favorite experiment in space?
My favorite experiment in space. There are so many different experiments that we do up here on the International Space Station. And I'll talk about some that I really love doing because I've been doing them for the past week or so. And they are right here in this that you can see in the corner of the view here. This is actually the Life Sciences glove box. And it's a special little mini laboratory where you can stick your arms through these armholes in the front. And then you have this little contained laboratory to keep your experiments clean and sterile, and then also to keep the environment safe in case there are any chemicals or anything that we're using. So I was doing experiments clean and sterile, and then also to keep the environment safe in case there are any chemicals or anything that we're using. So I was doing some really interesting cell biology experiments, and one of them was looking at different types of cells in your body, mainly ones that are produced in bone marrow or they're produced in as part of your blood cells, basically. So they're called megakaryocytes and also platelets. And these types of cells are very, very important in the clotting response for blood. So, when you cut yourself, you stop bleeding eventually because your blood clots. And that's a very important process. But sometimes astronauts actually get clots in their bodies in space, and that can actually be quite harmful. It can lead to things like strokes, and we don't want anything like that to happen up here on the space station. So by studying different types of cell biology experiments like that one, we can learn a lot and how to help astronauts in the future. And a lot of these experiments also have really strong applications to human medical conditions on the ground. So the research that we do up here can literally help patients survive on the ground.
Hi, my name is Henrik, and my question is, we know you're growing food, but what is your favorite thing you are growing?
That's a great segue from the previous question, because a lot of our experiments up here, or at least some of them, involve growing things that are actually food items. On my first mission to the International Space Station, we grew Mizuna lettuce, and that was this big leafy lettuce, and we were growing it under two different wavelengths of light, a reddish light and a bluish light. And the best part about that experiment was that at the end of it, we had to harvest the samples, and of course we had to send some back down to the scientists on the ground, but the other part we got to eat, and we got to have a fresh salad, which made me really, really happy. Growing alfalfa in the same facility where we grew that lettuce. So two different types that I've witnessed, but we've also grown a lot of other types of vegetables. Bok choy, we've grown peppers and tomatoes, some really interesting stuff, and it makes for a great snack, and it's a great way for us to spend our time with something alive and green and growing here on the space station.
Hello, my name is Samson, and my question is, how long is the trip to the International Space Station?
So it actually only takes a little bit over 8 minutes to get to space. Once those engines of your rocket ignite, you are in space and in weightlessness like this in only just over 8 minutes. But then it depends on which vehicle you fly on and how long it takes for you to get to the space station. Because you not only have to get to space, you also have to then meet up with the space station in a certain point so that you can dock together. And that's all dictated by where you are when you launch and where the space station is when you launch and where you're going to rendezvous as well. So for me, my first flight was on a Russian Soyuz rocket. In that vehicle, it took us 6 hours to reach the space station. Now, Soyuz missions actually only take about 3 hours, so that's 2 orbits around the Earth. Pretty fast. For us in the SpaceX Dragon, we actually took a little bit longer, just again based on where the space station was when we launched and where we were. And it took us over 30 hours to get to the space station. So we spent much more time in the vehicle than I did on my previous mission.
Hi, my name is Genesis, and my question is, how do things feel different when you return to Earth?
Everything feels very, very different when you return to Earth from space, and I know that from my previous mission. As you can see, when I'm up here, I can just spin around like I was talking about, and I'm floating when you return to Earth from space, and I know that from my previous mission. As you can see, when I'm up here, I can just spin around like I was talking about, and I'm floating all of the time. So my body really starts getting used to that. I can push myself off just very gently and then float back down. And I never put shoes on or walk around. I'm always floating and moving around like this, just with a gentle touch. And when I get back to Earth, I'm going to feel that gravity again. I literally will feel like things are pressing down on me. And it actually takes quite a bit of time for you to start feeling normal again, because your body is just used to having this floating feeling and to being offloaded by gravity. So you're quite tired when you come back. You feel pretty exhausted pretty easily, and I sometimes described it as when you have a bully at the playground that's, pushing you down, putting their hand on your head and pushing you down. That's kind of how it feels when you come back to gravity, because you're literally feeling that weight of gravity. I had a saying when I got back from my first flight, and it was, gravity is overrated.
Hi, my name is Sienna, and my question is, what is in your spacesuit to weigh you down on a spacewalk?
Well, that's an interesting question. We don't need anything in our spacesuit to weigh us down, because I think, maybe you're thinking about a balloon. If you let a balloon go and it has helium in it, and so it rises up and it's floating away. Here in space, though, when we're floating, see, if I stop moving, if I lift my legs up, I'm not going to move anywhere. I'm just going to float here in place without moving. And that's the same thing if we're outside in a spacesuit. Basically, us, the space station, the spacesuit, everything is in orbit around the planet, and it is falling continuously back toward Earth, but everything is falling at the same rate. And that's really what weightlessness is. Move around freely, just like I'm doing here. We can grab onto a handrail over here, and then we can move over here and grab onto something else, and we don't need anything else inside the spacesuit to help us do that.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and my question is, how and what do you eat and drink in space?
We have a lot of different types of space food up here and quite a bit of variety, which is really nice when you're up here for 7 months like we will be. We have a whole food lab down at NASA in Houston that's developing new foods all the time. Most of these foods are dehydrated, so they take the water out so that it'll be preserved and they can launch a smaller mass. And then we add the water back to it when we get up here. Some of the other food items, like for example, a piece of grilled chicken, is just launched in this special sealed pouch, and we put it into our food warmer so that we can warm it up. This is how we drink. This is a drink bag, and we fill it full of water from a machine that we can attach this part to, and it has a little needle. We insert our straw, and we just do this, but I'll do a little demonstration for you. It's more fun sometimes to do this. Instead of drinking out of the straw, I can make bubbles like this, and they can float around, and this is just water. I better get it before it hits something. So that's how we eat and drink in space.
Hi, my name is Tessa. My question is, what is sleeping like on the space station? How do you not float away?
So to sleep on the International Space Station, we each have our own little area called our own little area called our crew quarters, and that's our only personal space. And that's most of the time what we're doing if we're in our little crew quarters area is sleeping. We have a sleeping bag that is attached to the wall because in space you don't need to lie down. There is no up or down, so I can put my sleeping bag up here on the ceiling or on the wall or on any surface. Usually people have it attached to the wall because you don't want to float away. You know, because we have a ventilation system up here on the space station, you could get caught in an air current and start floating around, and that might wake you up. So it makes most people feel quite comfortable if you put the sleeping bag on the wall and you get inside, you zip it up, and then you can either just kind of float there like this. I usually wedge myself in a corner a little bit. It feels a little bit more like a bed at home when I'm in that position, but I sleep really well up here, and most people do.
Hi, my name is Dolly, and my question is, do you prefer the gravity of Earth or the microgravity of space?
That's an interesting question, and I think I sort of alluded to it earlier when I talked about coming home from my first mission and saying gravity is overrated. I think microgravity is a lot more fun because it turns, I think, us adults more into kids like you, where we have a little bit more lightness. We're a little bit more apt to play, to spin around in circles like I was doing, to play with our food like I was doing with our water. And I think it just makes things a lot more fun when we have that kind of playful spirit. But I will also be happy to go back down to Earth and to have gravity again, because sometimes things are difficult without microgravity, when anything can just float away from you if you don't Velcro it or hold it or put it down.
My name is Gabby, and my question is, if someone is hurt or sick, do you have any type of medicine?
Well, especially since we're up here for very long periods of time, like 7 months, like I mentioned, then it is pretty likely that something's going to happen. Somebody's going to, just scrape themselves and need a Band-Aid. Somebody might develop something that they need some medicine for. We really have a lot of screening before we come to space, so we try to prevent any big things, but of course things can happen to any human, even if you're healthy when you get up here. So we're very well prepared up here on the International Space Station. We have a lot of different types of medications that we might need for any scenario that might pop up. We have other types of life-saving equipment if somebody were to have a heart attack or need to have their heart restarted. We have what's called a defibrillator so that we can try to do that. We can give somebody CPR. We have all of these different types of medical equipment and medicines so that we're very, very well prepared. If somebody had a very serious medical condition, we would actually just get into the vehicle if that was deemed safe and get home, because then we could be home within a few hours to get them to a hospital scenario if that's needed.
Hi, I'm Carrie Kiker, the Planetarium Manager at the Cradle of Aviation. I want to thank the NASA Downlink staff for all their help and support, the students and teachers for their great questions, and most of all, a thank you to the International Space Station crew for taking the time to talk with us today.
It was certainly my pleasure to be here speaking with you today. I know that you at the museum do so much to inspire. For example, my colleague Jack Hathaway, who's up here right now, remembers going to your museum as a child. He grew up in Connecticut, so he wasn't too far away. And he turned out to be not only an astronaut, but a Navy F-18 pilot. So thank you for inspiring the next generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers. Not only an astronaut, but a Navy F-18 pilot. So thank you for inspiring the next generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers. Goodbye.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications. Station Houston, Space to Ground 2 for Jessica, and WHC foot restraints and jumper cables.
Right on 2.
Hey, Jessica, we had a bit of a conversation about the WHC foot restraints and wanted to ask you for some data. What is the current condition of the WHC foot restraints? We're seeing that a prior expedition feedback indicated damage and was asking for a new set. So our question kind of is, are the currently deployed foot restraints currently damaged? If so, I think we do want to ask for the R&R because based on the feedback. But if not, we think we might not need the R&R. Would love your inputs.
We have not noticed any damage. They seem to be functioning fine. I can go take a closer look and really inspect them, but none of us have noted any damage. So that's why we thought we did not need to replace them.
Copy that, Jessica. We'll take that report, and we're good with not performing the maintenance based on that. We'll take a deeper report at some point in the future, though, just to make sure there's no damage, since I think Jack's currently working on it. The second thing I have for you is we're go to have you start the jumper cable teardown early, so your next blue activity, if you like.
Okay, sure thing. I can step into that. Do you guys happen to?
Yes, we expect we'll have an answer. We're working on the words right now. The story coming shortly.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I will step into that E4D jumper in just a couple minutes. Thank you.
Hey, firm. And generally on the 8.0 CTB, the recommendations you were giving were generally on the right track. We're just pulling together the specific guidance for you.
Okay, copy. Yeah, the one thing that I am worried about fitting within the, usually for Dragon, you really have to respect the perfect rectangle, and you can't have anything protruding at all from any of the surfaces. And I'm not sure if that's going to be possible with specifically the pre-tree tank in that new location.
Copy that. Understood.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Station Huntsville on Space to Ground 2 for Sophie and ham video troubleshooting.
Sophie is with you on 2 for ham video.
Hey, Sophie, if you have a moment, we can use some help troubleshooting the ham video. It should take 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm available for you. No worries. Go ahead. I'm ready to copy whatever procedure you have.
Great, thanks for the help. And you can reference procedure 1.002, ham video installation, figure 13.
P1002 ham video figure 13, the connection between the USB cable and I didn't write down, but I'll see in the figure, and I'll call you back once I have the figure in front of my eyes.
Yep, AFIRM, it's between the HDMI converter and the MVPS, and those are in the figure, so hopefully that'll make it easier to understand.
Houston station on 2 for water transfer.
Andre, Houston's with you on 2. Go ahead.
I'm ready for...
Andre, Houston's with you on 2. Go ahead.
I'm ready for step 6, Houston.
Copy that. You have our go in step 6 of 2.735.
735, thanks.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2 for Jack in WHC R&R. At your convenience, we're looking for a status update and want to follow along with you and offer up any support if we can give it. Thanks, men.
Pensacola Sophie on 2 for HDMI converter and USB cable.
With you on 2, Sophie, go ahead.
Unfortunately, the power connector on the HDMI converter, so if you look at figure 13, the one on the bottom left of figure 13, this one is broken. And I mean, when I say broken, the connector went inside the piece of plastic, and so I would have to open this plastic box in order to catch it back and try to attempt to save it, but I'm not even sure it would be successful because this is a piece of kind of cheap plastic.
Wow, that is an excellent report. Thank you so much for taking a look at that. Could we possibly just request some photos so that we can assess on the ground? And then obviously we'll have no further actions for you today regarding the ham video, but the pictures would be greatly appreciated.
Sure, I'll do the pictures right away. And
the ham video, but the pictures would be greatly appreciated.
Sure, I'll do the pictures right away, and I will let you know on which SSCs they are.
Great, thanks, Toby.
Houston station on 2 for water transfer.
Andre, Houston's with you on 2. Go ahead.
Houston, transfer hose disconnected from PWD and system bypass valve back to registration station.
Copy. That's a good configuration. Thank you kindly for the help. Spasiba.
Thank you.
Control station Sophie on 2 for HDMI converter.
With you on 2.
The pictures are on SSC 25, and but I'm not sure you'll see a ton on the pictures. Basically, the power connector is went into this black plastic box and is free floating inside. You'll see a ton on the pictures. Basically, the power connector is went into this black plastic box and is free floating inside, so it's really broken. And if we do have a spare part, I would strongly recommend to attach it with some tape so that this does not happen again.
Copy, and that's good advice and something we're going to consider as we move forward with taking a look at this down the line. And Sophie Hunsel, back with you on 2. We'd ask one more favor of you if you have a moment.
I do.
And could we just have you trace that chain back and disconnect it from the box and temp stow the cable nearby and just let us know where you've stowed it?
You read my mind. I was going to do that, at least put some labeling so that the next R&R is easier.
You read our minds then. Thank you.
Cancel from Sophie and 2 for Hempview.
Go ahead on 2.
So I left this box with the 2 remaining correct connections attached about 10 inches above the ham video, attached with a Velcro strap, and as well as the HDMI converter cable. So everything is at the same location, just 10 inches above the ham video. It will be easier for the next crew doing the R&R, just to have the understanding of these cables. So this way, I left them co-located.
Copy all. Thanks for letting us know, and we really appreciate that help. Copy all. Thanks for letting us know, and we really appreciate that help.
No worries at all. And you know what? If you have a spare part right now available, I can do it. It was going to take just 5 minutes, and I'm happy to do help on that one.
And we don't have that tracked down right now. We might be able to put something together prior to DPC, but we're not entirely sure we'll actually be able to make that happen.
All right, no worries, no rush, and we're here to serve, so whenever it's a good time for you.
Station Houston on space to ground 2. No response.
Sensation on 2 for E4D cable.
Hey, Jessica, we're with you on 2 for the E4D cable.
Yeah, just a question. So I've taken apart the cable. It actually held together miraculously well. It looks just like it did when we built it, and there was no damage. I wanted to just mention on the pin socket, I did, we did put Kapton tape, around each of the ends to protect them of each other and prevent arcing there, which I'm assuming would be possibly useful for the next use of these. Should I leave that Kapton tape in place on these pin sockets?
Copy, Jessica.
For the next use of these, should I leave that Kapton tape in place on these pin sockets?
Copy, Jessica. Recommend remove the Kapton tape. Additionally, 30 seconds until LOS, and we do have some follow-on words for you, too.
Okay, copy. Sensation on back with you on 2. You said you had more words?
Hey, Firm, we were just talking about that a little bit more, the Kapton tape. So I think current plan is or thoughts from our side is we could go either way. I think we're thinking at the moment we want to put it back into the original config without the tape, but we do think there is always a chance in the future that we tape them again, but we're thinking for now remove them. Open to thoughts on that one if you have any. Additionally, I want to let you know that we can talk about that StowTrack Step 113 when you're ready. And additionally, the last item I have for you is we wanted to ask, we may need some help with INOX activity on Jack's timeline, but looking for assessment or thoughts there.
Okay, well, to go in order, I would suggest leaving the tape there because it doesn't impact the function of the pin socket whatsoever, but it just protects it if you have adjacent ones. So I can imagine scenarios where you would want it, the function of the pin socket whatsoever, but it just protects it if you have adjacent ones. So I can imagine scenarios where you would want it, back on, and I cannot imagine a scenario where it would hinder any normal operation of this pin socket. It's kind of a pain to do, and it'll be kind of a pain to take off. So my recommendation would be to leave it, and then if we're really in dire straits and you needed one without caps on, obviously you could remove it for that next activity. But again, I really can't.
We would accept that recommendation.
Okay, that sounds good. So I am basically finished with this activity aside from stowing the cables. I'm not sure where those are going, so I'm not sure how long that's going to take. But I can take the words now for the cargo, and if you also would like me to do that activity on Jack's timeline, that is no problem. That was the Auxilian one.
Affirm, and that activity would just be on time as scheduled. We're just trying to protect for WHC running a little bit long, if needed. All right, and then the stow track step 113 items are as follows. We have 4 actions requested. The first recommendation is concur. Please skip adding the empty 4.0 CTBs in step 113.06. Tracking that could have already been done. Oh, I'm seeing you pull stuff up there.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Item 2 was we concur with the plan to reduce packaging on the spaceborne computer. That's step 113.02. Recommend verifying that the bubble wrap is covering all sides, but it's okay if it's from an adjacent item. So like it doesn't need an independent bubble wrap around itself, if that makes sense. Item 3, for the pump separator.
Understood.
Item 3, pump separator, and the we can move those around in the bag as needed. If it can't fit without bulging the CTB, though, we do recommend removing the pump separator and temp stowing that in 4.0 CTB, SpaceX return number 2, which is serial 5125 at node 2, deck 2. And of course, our request for you after all that is to report final config. Note, LOS in about 30 seconds.
Okay, copy all. Yeah, I'm not quite sure the pump separator will fit, but that sounds like a good plan, and I will report back. I did not use those 4.0s yet. Maybe in the new config we might use some of them. I can't imagine all.
Roger, we copy all, and that sounds good to us. Thank you kindly.
Houston, Station 124, 8.0.
Hey, Jessica, Houston's with you on 2. Go ahead.
So I did remove one of the sides of the foam, like we mentioned on the spaceborne computer, and I reassessed it. And unfortunately, it's still too tall to fit below. There's the rigid deck of the basement, and so right now it's still a few inches taller than that. So they basically can't fit there. I did notice that ISIS drawer, I think that Jack and Chris packed that per some pretty specific instructions, but it has layers of that thick foam all around it, and then even around the foam, there's air bubble, and also on top of the air bubble, there's also bubble wrap. So that is definitely, several inches thicker than just the drawer alone. I'm not sure what the measurements, how many inches the measurements account for rather than just the hardware, but I think right now either the measurements are off or we're far exceeding the thickness of wrapping material. So I guess if we can rewrap that ISIS drawer, it may just fit, and it'll be like a really tight, snug fit. And that is without any of those 4.0s. I never did put any of those in since I didn't think everything was going to fit. So just need a little more guidance there.
Copy that, Jessica. We will still need a little bit of time for that. We'll let you know when we have more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jessica, Houston, back with you on 2 for in auxilium like we talked about a little earlier. Hey, Jessica, we would like to move that in auxilium cartridge replace activity to your timeline at 16:45. Please give POIC a call at the start time to coordinate.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Copy, thanks.
WC, air hose R&R, step 9.4.
Hey, Jack, we're pulling up step 9.4 with you.
Are we configuring for internal UAV or integrated with UPA?
Hello, Jack. Please continue to UPA.
Integrated with UPA, moving on to 9.6, thanks.
Good words.